Live in Nashville, Tennessee. You are listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. Nashville's #1 daily podcast. Brought to you by Think Nashville. Think Nashville. Think Brad. Think Brad. It's Nashville Daily Podcast.
Welcome to the Nashville Daily Podcast. We have more interviews coming your way, including today. We're going to be finally talking about sports. Before we get to that, if you're thinking about buying a home in Nashville, you need to contact Brad Reynolds at thinkbrad.com. He is the guy who can get you in best rate, the best house. You can find him at thinkbrad.com, or you can text him. We have the number on the screen there at 615-856-3270, and text him some absurd hashtag about the upcoming Super Bowl. Started with hashtag Think Nashville, Think Brad. And again, visit thinkbrad.com for more information. All right, today is the day that probably a lot of you have been waiting for, and that is talking about sports here in Nashville. But don't worry, it's not going to be me that is talking about a lot of the sports. It's going to be Mr. Chad Bishop hot on the mic today. Chad, welcome to the show.
Wow, man, that was quite an intro and a lot of pressure for me to bring it today.
We brought the dancing for
that's true.
That music. I think we just need like a little bit of that like dance party music just to come in randomly and just take a little dancing break every now and again.
A little wake up music right there, right? That's nice. I liked it. Yeah, but yeah, great to be here. Thanks so much for having me again.
Chad, you've been on the show previously. Our longtime listeners will remember you from our audio days and a little bit of our earlier video days. And
the classics. The classic episodes. Yeah. Those are coming out on DVD this fall. Yeah.
And so we've talked a bit on here before, but I was telling you, even before we hopped on the mics, we need more sports in here. There's a lot of sports happening in Nashville. We're trying to bring in sports ball back into the show, and so we're happy to have you on. Yeah. Can you refresh the listeners' memories of those who have listened to the classics, and then anybody who's new here a little bit about how you got into sports writing and what you do now?
Yeah, definitely. I've been in sports journalism, sports communications, really since 2004 when I was a student at Georgia Southern University, and I was an intern for the local paper down in Statesboro, Georgia, Nat capital of the world. That's true. That's not a joke. And I, came up through the ranks, started covering high school sports down in Georgia, moved to Bowling Green, Kentucky, lived there for 9 years covering high school sports in Western Kentucky University. And then 2019 moved to Nashville to cover Vanderbilt for 247sports.com. And then shortly thereafter, Vanderbilt itself hired me to work in their athletics communications office, where I write a ton of game stories, a ton of features. I also work with the golf teams and the bowling team behind the scenes, do a lot of things for our website and for social media. So it's been a wild ride of almost 20 years now, which makes me feel very, very old to say out loud.
So, Chad, I don't know if you know this. I looked up how many tweets you have tweeted over the course of
can I guess?
of your tenure on the platform. How many tweets do you think that you've tweeted?
Gosh.
If we were to go on Twitter right now, what would it say?
70,000?
Ooh, over 100,000 tweets.
You want to know something else crazy about that is in 2009, I started my first ever Twitter account, technically was something called BG Preps, at BG Preps. And this was back when you could use your phone to send a text message to Twitter and it would tweet it out.
Oh my gosh.
That's how old that Twitter account was. Because I don't even know if I had the Twitter app on the phone. I think it was just desktop maybe. Anyway, so I had that account for 2 years before I ever even had my personal account in 2011. So if you add BG Preps to my personal account, I mean, we may be in the 150,000 range or something. That's too many tweets.
Gosh.
Now, I will say, when I started out in this business, I mean, I had itchy fingers. I was tweeting all the time, as you probably remember. But nowadays, I've back a little bit. Twitter is probably not as big as it was in the sports. I mean, it's still big in the sports industry, but now with Instagram, TikTok, there's a little bit more competitors and different avenues to get your news. So Twitter's not the end-all be-all for things, but it is still big in the sports world for sure.
Yeah, which is it's just very interesting to see like the amount of content that you can put up there.
Yeah.
It's still honestly one of the best ways to communicate things faster than a Google update will be for a sports team. Those things are getting faster, obviously, but Twitter still seems the best way to do it.
Yeah, Twitter's still king when it comes to sports and sports reporting for sure. I mean, as a sports fan, I mean, I would guess every single sports fan out there has a Twitter account so they can follow their favorite team, their favorite writer, their favorite news agency to kind of see what's going on, because Twitter's where you're going to find it. I mean, I think of like, I'm not a huge NBA guy, but we all know there's those NBA sports writer personalities who break news right before it happens. NFL draft, you can see the picks on Twitter 10 to 15 minutes before they come out on TV, So, I mean, that's I think in that regard, Twitter will kind of always be on top when it comes to sports news. Yeah.
So we are heavily into the Vanderbilt season of a few sports.
Yep.
Basketball is kind of their primary one. And you said I was watching the Tennessee Vanderbilt game for just a second. So how did that game end up? Because it was close when I was watching it.
Yeah, well, let me tell you. Okay, let's back up. All right, so Jerry Stackhouse is the head coach, Vanderbilt basketball. This is his fourth season there, and he had never beaten Tennessee, 0-7 before Wednesday night. The Commodores, as a program, had lost 11 in a row to Tennessee. Had not beaten Tennessee since 2017. Had not beaten Tennessee at home since 2016. Tennessee came to Memorial Gym on Wednesday, ranked 6th in the country. And Vanderbilt hung close enough to give themselves a chance at the end and hit a buzzer beater to win 66-65. 5 seconds left on the clock.
Wow.
Vanderbilt inbounds the ball, ran a really beautiful basketball play and threw it to a kid in the corner named Tyron Lawrence, and he sank the three at the end to win, breaking a long losing streak for Vanderbilt. Pandemonium. Kids on the court,
they didn't get fined like Tennessee.
They'll get fined. Yeah, it's they broke an SEC rule, but I think when that stuff happens, I think athletic departments are happy to pay that fine, because there's a lot of demons exercised in that game for Vanderbilt basketball. Has had just a week ago, they went down to Alabama and lost by 57 points. So to come back 1 week later and beat a top 6 team at the buzzer. Big win for those kids and sports, man. I mean, that's why I love it. That's why a lot of people love it. You just don't know what you're going to get night in and night out.
And you said before we got on air, you were saying about some of the sports that you SID for.
Yeah.
First of all, what is it? What is SID?
SID stands for Sports Information Director. So sort of a SID for Dummies course, right? Is like, if I'm the SID for the golf team, well, that means I'm updating the website. I'm writing the recaps after their tournaments. I'm writing the previews for their tournaments. I'm writing their social media accounts. If you want to talk to the head golf coach at Vanderbilt, you contact me first, and I help you set up the interview, media requests, things like that. So, PDF files, statistics, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. A lot of people don't realize those people are just vital to any college. And it's not just college. I mean, the Titans have a team of folks who do that sort of work. Nashville SC, Predators, every sports entity has an SID type who helps with, media coverage, statistics, notes, whatever the case may be. So anyway, I do that for both Vanderbilt men's and women's golf teams and the bowling team.
And so we were, before we got on air, you were saying, which not many people know because people don't follow these sports as closely.
Yeah.
Those are some top-ranked teams that you're covering there.
Vanderbilt gets a hard rap from time to time about their athletic, prowess or lack thereof. Football team hasn't been good in quite some time. Women's basketball has been pretty down, and the men's basketball team hasn't made the tournament in several years. But if you kind of open the curtain up, you can see a soccer team that makes the NCAA tournament pretty much every year. The men's golf team is a national title contender. The women's tennis team is outstanding. The lacrosse team is very good. Women's golf is very good. Bowling competes for a national championship every year. So they have some programs over there. I can't leave out the baseball team, of course, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But it's a lot to deal with. I pretty much every year I go out to Scottsdale, Arizona, where the national championship is held for golf. I just kind of booked that because I know it's the team's going to make it because that's how good they are. Vanderbilt had a young man named Gordon Sargent win the individual national championship last year, so he finished with the best score after the individual play, and the team itself made the Final Four. So they're expected to go back this year. Really, really good team. And if you're a big golf fan, they host a tournament every April down in Franklin, so it'd be fun for you to come out and check that out.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Before we get into the baseball, not too long ago, maybe 6 more months or so ago, renovations were announced for kind of the entrance area and kind of the outside facing part of Memorial. Are you excited for those?
Yeah, I think it's big time for Vanderbilt athletics. I mean, they've, to be brutally honest, they've fallen behind in the arms race and the facilities race, especially against their SEC brethren, but and most of college sports. So they're going to have a new football indoor facility. The football stadium is going to be completely renovated.
That's right.
New indoor basketball. Obviously, it's indoor basketball.
Like some new practice gyms.
Yeah. And some of that has to do with Vanderbilt having a volleyball team now, which is going to start playing in 2025.
I didn't realize they didn't have one.
Yeah, Vanderbilt does not have, they don't have volleyball or softball at the moment, which are two really, really big SEC sports.
So how does Title IX deal into that? Is there something they're doing on the men's side in order to do that?
No, they won't add any other men's sports. Not maybe down the line, but not anything imminent, so to speak. So that'll be big to have that volleyball team on campus. They've already hired a coach, and he's already hired his assistant.
They can learn from Lipscomb, who's a big contender on the volleyball side of things.
Yeah, I mean it's such a big sport, in the country, especially in the Midwest, and now sort of getting into the South. We've seen, Kentucky's got a great team, Western Kentucky's got an amazing program, and now Louisville, an amazing program. So Vanderbilt's going to hitch their wagon to the volleyball train in a couple of years. So anyway, because of all that, they are making some facility improvements, which I think will be big for the Vanderbilt community, the Nashville community, really, because if you've been to Vanderbilt Stadium, it's not the most enjoyable, glorious place to watch a football game. It's kind of an older stadium.
Yeah.
So this will be a big upgrade and be a fun place to go. Even if you're not a Vanderbilt fan, I think it'll be just a great venue to go watch a college football game.
Well, speaking of great experiences at Vanderbilt, the baseball team has set high expectations for anybody. I'm sure they sell out of season tickets for baseball almost. What are you expecting this season? Because they set high expectations. Yeah, and I know it's very hard to keep those top spots a lot of times.
Yeah, we've been joking around the office when Georgia won the national championship of football recently. Their coach Kirby Smart before the game, we don't get any respect, and no one thought we could do this. And I'm like, dude, you won it last year, and you're the best team in the world. Like, everybody expected you to do this, right? I say that because I think, this is my opinion. Internally, there might be a little bit of that going on with Vanderbilt. They did not make it out of the regional play last year. Yeah. They did not make it to the College World Series. Tennessee across the state is one of the top teams in the country. They had
what are they put in the water over there?
I don't know. Moonshine. Yeah. So there's some of this like maybe folks are overlooking Vanderbilt this year. Maybe they're a little bit disrespected, which is really silly because they're still a top 10 team and they still have, a handful of MLB draft picks on the roster. That's one amazing thing about Vanderbilt baseball. If you go, it's almost like going to a minor league baseball game. Because you're going to see some kids that are going to play at the next level. Yep. That's happened as recently as J.J. Bleday, a kid I covered in 2019. He now plays for the Miami Marlins. Austin Martin coming up through the Blue Jays system, really high level. These guys were at Hawkins Field a couple years ago. Wow. So it's real fun to go there, and even if you're not a Vanderbilt fan, you can see those guys. Maybe you see the other team. The other team in the SEC is probably going to have some MLB guys on it too. So it's real high-level baseball. It's real fun to be around.
Have you seen that be – because if you go to other college sports, I mean, there's only Lipscomb and Belmont pretty much with that. But those are more casual viewing. Vanderbilt's more of probably more of like a family event. You bring it's more of not enjoyable, but just like a big atmosphere because of what they've done in the past.
Yeah, especially in baseball, and I'd say, men's basketball probably had that 5 to 10 years ago with how they were kind of rolling before they sort of hit a skid. You do get sort of the, folks would be like, let's go see an SEC game, because it's big time. It's a big time atmosphere. I think we're starting to see that in football a little bit with the football teams turn around, and I think that'll happen in years to come too. And plus, as I'm sure you guys talk about all the time, this city is growing like crazy, right? So if you're a family of 4 who just moved here from, Dallas, you say, well, Vanderbilt's down the street. Let's go check out this Vanderbilt game.
It's one of the cheaper things to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's going to be way cheaper than a Preds game, right, or a Titans game. And there's family packs. You can go on the website and find deals for your family. And there's a lot of times there's kids activities before a football game, like bouncy castles and face painting and stuff like that. Nice. So yeah, I mean, it's they've done a great job over there of sort of making it a family fun environment.
Okay, so I'm going to stay on the baseball topic.
Okay.
Nashville Stars.
Yeah. Is it going to happen? Is that what you're going to ask me?
Yes. I think it's going to happen. Yeah. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's just a very interesting scenario of. It's just we're just playing this big delay of who's it going to be and when,
right?
Because they're already doing the site testing at TSU. There are rumors of who it's going to be.
Yeah.
And what are your? They've brought in such an all-star cast to make sure it happens. But I'm tired of waiting.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't think anybody could guess that timeline, right? Because there's so many moving pieces. Do you move a team that already exists? Do you create a team out of nothing? Is it the Oakland A's that move here? It doesn't appear that it's going to be the Tampa Bay Rays. Looks like they're going to stay. I think they got, some new stadium deals in the work. But you're right. I mean, they wouldn't collect all those people, Justin Timberlakes of the world, and these MLB Hall of Famers if this wasn't happening, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that would be all for naught. It seems like there's a lot of money at stake and a lot of reputations at stake for this not to happen. Again, where does the stadium go? When does the team start playing? Is it a new team? Is it a team that moves from a different city? But I'm with you. I mean, at this point, I would lean more toward this is definitely going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Then it's not. It'd be tough for me personally because I'm a huge Braves guy, but I'd be like so pumped that there'd be an MLB team in town, right? And maybe they'd be an American League team, so I could have like an AL team and an NL team.
That would be interesting.
That'd be nice. I need to call somebody and make sure they work this out for me. What works best for me?
Right. Yeah. The other thing that I'm very interested in the sports world right now is the something that I learned just within the few weeks, which is so I've known for a while that college athletes have now been able to get paid.
Sure.
For their likeness,
yep.
We'll let's talk about that first, and then there's something else in that arena I think is very interesting that's happening. How have you seen that work out so far? I've heard some mixed reviews on how that's really kind of played out so far. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we're still in the infancy of this movement, of this era of college sports, and for those who don't know, NIL, name, image, likeness. If you were a star athlete in college, before you were doing your thing and that was it. And now, Zaxby's can come to you and be like, hey, we love you playing basketball. Here's some money, and that's perfectly legal.
Yep.
And you can hire an agent to help you work through all that stuff, and you can work with your athletic department to make sure you're not breaking any rules and the money's going to you and through the proper channels. So. It's really, the dawn of a new era in college sports, and I think a real positive. What we don't know right now is a lot of this is unregulated. I think the NCAA and athletic departments aren't really sure, if this is going to get out of control, if this is going to sort of be monitored, day in and day out. And I think it'll honestly all even out. I think there's some fear that like the Texases of the world or the Georgias or the Ohio States will just be giving these kids money left and right because money's no issue to them, and they'll just start to dominate in everything.
Right.
But I don't. This may be me personally. I don't feel that it's going to shake out that way because there's just too many kids and too many sports all across the country, and you only got so many roster spots, right?
Right.
Take a college basketball team. There's 13 kids on the team. Well, even if you give all 13 of those kids some big-time money, there's still going to be kid number 14 who doesn't get it, so he's going to go to a different school.
Right.
And so I think, I think it's going to be some time before we see how this really affects college athletics. I know working with Vanderbilt, there's already, a ton of kids who have gotten their fair share of NIL money. I mentioned Gordon Sargent earlier, who won a national championship in golf.
Yeah.
I know he's been talking to agents trying to figure out how he's going to, sort of make some money in that regard.
Yeah.
Enrique Bradfield is a star for the baseball team. He has some NIL deals in the works. There are what's called collectives who work with athletic departments to help funnel in money to these players and try to do it the right way through the proper channels. So it's real interesting, but I think, from the outside looking in, you're still going to see sports teams compete and go out there and give their all. And I don't think it's going to water down what we know as college athletics.
And it's would you rather play at a no-name state college in the Midwest, or would you and maybe get some more NIL money, or would you rather go to an SEC school, maybe still make a little less because they're paying the bigger guys, but you get probably maybe some more looks because you're at that other school. So I think there's a lot of factors in that for sure.
Yeah, and then I think the other factor, people don't talk about is, there's the 5-star recruit who everybody wants, and, everybody is promising her money, like, hey, you're the best player in the but there's that other kid who is already in college. Maybe she's a sophomore, and maybe she blows up and has the best junior season in school history.
Yeah.
Now she's getting NIL money. Yeah. Now she's getting more support from the school.
Yeah.
And I think kids will start to see that too. Like, hey, maybe I'm not the best now, but if I get to this place and improve and become a star, then the money will come. So I think it's not just about recruiting. It's about keeping the athletes you already have in school and helping them out financially and making them stars.
So the interesting thing that's happened in this world now that I just found out recently is that this is also possible for high school students.
Yeah.
Didn't know that until about a month ago. Have you heard really anything on that world right now?
I think that's only going to be these like sort of viral, big time, once in a generation. I mean, look, like a LeBron James son, that would be a kid who's probably, not that he probably needs any NIL money, right? But like, there's going to be like your star quarterback or your star basketball player or your top draft pick in high school who maybe, that NIL money or that sponsorship money comes in. But again, I just think those are going to grab some headlines. But again, just think of how many kids are out there playing sports. It's just
a lot.
It's going to be probably less than 1% of high school kids who are getting that sort of money. And really, when you get to college, it's probably, less than 20% of the kids right now. Now that number is going to go up. But, to me, again, this is my opinion, I just don't think it's going to affect maybe the competition field as much as people fear.
Yeah. Yeah. They're still going to play the same.
Yeah.
The money doesn't make them better.
Well, I mean, look at, if we go back to, we started talking about Vanderbilt basketball beating Tennessee, a lot of the kids on the Vanderbilt roster right now, don't have a lot of NIL money coming in. I would assume, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would assume Tennessee's roster probably has a little bit more. I mean, they're ranked 6th in the country, got a lot of high-level guys who possibly might play at the pro level, got a lot of high-level recruits. When Vanderbilt plays Kentucky, I mean, those Kentucky kids, I mean, they're all stars, and they all, but it doesn't mean Vanderbilt just steps on the court and goes, well, we're going to lose because these guys got NIL money and we don't. I mean, it's
because everything, yeah.
Watch March Madness. I mean, we see it every year. The small schools beat the big schools. Yeah. They're not going to lay down because they're not getting NIL money.
No.
In fact, that's probably going to motivate them even more. Yeah.
All right. So outside of the college sports world, what are you looking forward to this year just to go and enjoy as a Nashville sports fan?
Yeah, well, I actually went to the Predators game on Tuesday, believe it or not, but I still wear my Thrashers jersey every time I go to a Predators game.
They don't throw you out?
No, and funny story, every time I go to a Predators game, I wear a Thrashers jersey. I just, it's just what I do. And without fail, I get a high five or a go Thrashers.
Wow.
On my way home, I'm walking across the pedestrian bridge. I see another guy with the exact same Thrasher jersey that I have on. I'm like, what are the odds of that? And, guys from Chattanooga, we chatted for a second. But anyway, always love going to Predators games. Obviously, everybody does. I mean, if you can, finagle your way into some tickets and, throw away a month's rent. I've become a pretty big soccer guy. Admittedly, an Atlanta United fan, but I love Geodis Park. I love going to games
It
at
is.
Nashville.
It's so like they did it right.
It's amazing.
Which is great.
I've tried to explain it to my father that like it might be the best stadium I've ever been to, and that's across all sports because of the
how many concession stands there are.
the size, the concession stands, the local food, the local beer, the atmosphere. I've sat, on the sideline. I've sat in the upper deck. I've sat over by, the club section. Every viewpoint is amazing.
Now, if only you can go and you don't have to leave immediately after a game, then it's perfect.
Oh yeah. Just man, we went.
Sit back and let the alcohol just leave your body for an hour or two, and then leave, and the traffic will be clear.
We went to one game last year. It was Nashville SC against Atlanta United. It was the game that was delayed like 2 hours by lightning.
Oh, I remember that.
I don't think it ended till midnight. We still sat in traffic for like an hour afterward. I mean, yeah, they got to figure that part out, and I think they will. But anyway, I'm looking forward to going to more Nashville SC / Atlanta United games at that stadium. I just think it's an amazing venue. On that note, the the U.S. women's national team, soccer team, is playing here, I believe, in a few weeks.
Okay.
So I think that'll be. I think they're playing Japan. We might have to.
See, this is why I like having
Yeah.
you on and all the sports stuff on, because these are things we don't follow.
And
as
I
closely.
don't know if that game is at Geodis or Nissan. I'm pretty sure it's at Geodis.
It would be a mistake to do it at Nissan, I think.
Yeah,
The Geodis needs that
Yeah.
national attention.
Yeah. I know that the women's national team is coming here soon to train, and then I believe they play Japan in a match. So I think that'll be anytime the national team is in Nashville. That's a big time. Watching the World Cup, this winter at Tailgate Brewery on Demumbrium was an amazing time. Going there at 10 a.m. and cracking a beer and watching the boys play soccer.
That place was crowded.
It was crazy. It was crazy, especially that Friday after Thanksgiving when they, I think that was the knockout stage.
Yep.
They had to win. Man, like you couldn't move, and there was wall-to-wall people. But it's great. I mean, that's why we love the World Cup. Everybody comes together to watch some sports.
What restaurants are you chasing here in Nashville?
Oh my
right
gosh.
now?
So there's one in East Nashville which we haven't been to, and I'll butcher the name, but I think it's pronounced Xiaobao, maybe. I don't.
Okay.
It's
I
supposed
don't know if I'm familiar.
It's supposed to be over in the Redheaded Stranger folk area.
Yeah.
By Sean Brock's restaurant. Is it Audrey? I think is over
Yes.
there. So I think it's a Japanese restaurant, maybe Chinese, but it's supposed to be it's just supposed to be amazing. We haven't been there yet, so.
But that's one that you've got
That's
your
at
eye
the
on.
top of my list to go to.
What's your frequent flyer restaurants?
We go to El Fuego a ton. I don't know if you've heard of El
You
Fuego.
park on the street on Gallatin.
Yeah, and because we have a 4-year-old, and well, first of all, the food is amazing, but we have a 4-year-old, and it's like going to somebody's house because there's a front yard and a backyard, and the kids just run everywhere. We love that. I mentioned Redheaded Stranger we go to a lot.
Their burger's fantastic.
Yeah, I had Cheap Charlie's Tacos the other night, formerly 5 Points Tacos, one of my favorite taco spots for
gotcha.
sure. Love that spot. 5 Points Pizza, of course, on the east side. We're East Siders, so we do 5 Points Pizza a lot. Yeah, man. Big Al's. I don't know if you've been to Big Al's in Germantown.
I have not.
Change your life. It's going to change your life.
What kind of food?
It's just a diner, and it's a meat and three. It's kind of hole in the wally, but some of the best fried chicken I've ever had. One of the best breakfasts I've ever had. That place is fire, as the kids say.
Okay, well, I may go there right after this.
I may do it, man. I'm telling you. It's just like it's old school. Al's in the kitchen. He's like the friendliest dude in the world. He like knows everybody that comes in, and yeah, it's a great spot.
Awesome. Oh, my gosh. That's
Now
exciting.
you're hungry.
I
Now
know.
you're
Now
hungry.
I'm very hungry. Chad, thank you for being on the show.
You got it, my friend.
Where can people keep up with the 100,000 tweets that you put out?
Twitter.com. No, it's at Mr. Chad Bishop on Twitter and Instagram, and then vucommodores.com is our website.
We have more to talk about, so we'll bring you on the show at another point. We didn't even get to Titan Stadium.
Yep.
We didn't get to any of the sound stuff. So we got a lot more to cover, so we'll bring you back on for it.
Love it.
Thank you for listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. If you want to learn more, head to NashvilleDailyPodcast.com.
You can also follow us on social media at explore.nash on Instagram, Nashville Daily Podcast on YouTube, and explore.nash on YouTube as well.
The Nashville Daily Podcast is an Explore LLC production, copyright 2023.